title, I think. It's great.
We will talk about it. It's really interesting, I think. Really interesting varietal.
All right, let's kick off. It's 7 o'clock, and we'll start the recording from this point later on when we upload to the site. Pablo, thank you so much for joining us tonight to help us work through the wines that we have from you guys. It's an extraordinary winery, an extraordinary location, and one of the best parts of Spain these days. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you to start with the presentation for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Robert, for your trust, actually. And this opportunity, I'm glad that I get the chance to introduce the winery today. Well, I know, or I guess some of you are familiar with Ribera del Duero. So I think it's an appellation in Spain which is getting a lot of popularity in the last years, right? So we at Valduero, we are one of the 8 founders of this appellation. You see, this is Europe. Here you have Spain, Ribera del Duero, and we are here. This is actually one of the places with the highest altitudes in the region, over 800 meters. So here you have some pictures of the state through different times of the year. And well, we're actually here. This is where we are right now. So you can see this is the state. Now we are in after the pruning. So this is the hibernation process of the plant. And here you have a picture from the top of it, so you can have a clear image of it. Actually, we have this mountain where we craft these 3 underground tunnels in order to use as least energy as possible and try to be eco-friendly and sustainable. All the wines and all the barriques, they are stored under this underground tunnel.
Guys.
Then here you have a picture just to show a little bit of the history. This is Yolanda in the middle. She's not only the only woman in the Ribera del Duero Council, but nowadays she's the oldest member of it. She's a really important person in the appellation of Ribera del Duero. This photo is back in the Constitution because we were one of the 8 wineries that were founding the appellation. And now here you have a picture of the family. And nowadays, Yolanda on the left, she is responsible for the winemaking. Don Gregorio, he's the father. He built the winery itself, the facilities. And then on the right, you have Carolina, who is the younger sister and responsible for the commercialization and the marketing of the wines. And now I wanted to explain a little bit why I think we are a fantastic state, and it is because of 4 vines. We work only for Tempranillos on low bush vineyards of Tempranillo 100%. Given the high altitude where we are located, the conditions are really tough, and this is why Yolanda decided to only use 100% Tempranillo, the local varietal, to produce the reds. You can see everything is handled by hand, 14-kilo baskets. There's no way you can use any machines, and we have this philosophy of working on each plant and doing each bottle like art. I just showed you 2 professional pictures, but these pictures I'm going to show now, they were taken by my own mobile phone in a visit to the vineyard. Here you have the Albillo, the grape that we're going to taste now, which is in a espalier system, because this varietal tends to have botrytis, and therefore this way it helps to oxygenate the grape. But please look at how low the yieldings are, how the bit amount of grape that we get from each plant. And here you have the Tempranillo. This is 2 bunches. This is the last wine that we're tasting. It's produced in this particular parcel, which is located right here. You see it's the top of that hill there. I don't know how is it seen, but this is the top of the hill. But this photo was taken before the annual harvest, right before. This is the front of the state also, and I think these are pictures taken by me, not professional photographers, and I think it helps a little bit to see why we're putting a lot of care and attention on the field. Also, to give you something special, because I know you are giving a lot of tastings like this one. So to give you something special, we have some of the most exclusive private wine clubs in Spain. So we have members, let's say, of this club, which they buy their own barrique. They get 300 bottles of the wine, and then they are invited to come and enjoy in this restaurant where I'm now located. This is like a private club, and we have some special members, such as Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits, Sultan Super Swing. We have Vicente del Bosque, who was the manager of the Spanish football club when we won the World Cup. Plácido Domingo, one of the most famous opera singers. Mario Vargas Llosa. Well, he's a really super famous Spanish Nobel Prize writer. Feliciano Lopez, Roland Garros winner, tennis player. Antonio Lopez, one of the only painters who has the Premio Príncipe de Asturias, really prestigious. Ken Follett, bestseller author from England. Martin Berasategui, owner of 12 Michelin stars restaurants in all of Spain. And Fernando Rueda. Well, we have even a photo of Cristiano Ronaldo.
He's not drinking enough wine. He's way too fit.
Yeah.
We must get him to drink more.
And well, some of really top companies in Spain, they are also part of this club, and they come here for Christmas to have their business dinners at the end of the year. So, well, without further ado, I would like to go to the wines, right? So the first one that we were, you tell me, Robert, it's really interesting. This is the Albillo. So
it's interesting,
Albillo,
when I was doing the research for this Albillo, Pablo, it's a lot of people were talking about the oxygenation process and what have you. So my first question in my notes was a very big question. Is it an orange wine? But it's not. It does have a very mild, soothing texture that makes me think of this new trend of oxygenated whites, but it's definitely aromatic.
Well, I think this has to do with the fact that we harvest the white after the red. We let it maturate a little bit to get the optimal conditions.
Oh, I see.
And you see, Albillo has only been accepted in Ribera del Duero because Ribera del Duero is a really strict appellation. And Yolanda has a lot of influence in the appellation, and it is an autochthonal grape, and she has managed what is right, because the grape was here before the appellation was even there. And when the appellation was constituted, most of the viticultures, they start pulling off all the Albillo grape and planting Tempranillo because they could sell for more money, right? Because it was inside the appellation. But we, Valduero, we kept doing Albillo for almost 40 years now. So I think it's quite a delicate varietal, actually. We put it in top of the list because it's really subtle, and it also has a lot of trouble with the botrytis. Because of the grapes being really big, the space between them is really small, and we need the air to flow between them in order to consistently prevent all this bacteria from coming up and causing a lot of trouble to the grape. It's really capricious and difficult to produce grape, actually.
Oh. I noticed when you speak about the fertilization process, you're using sheep manure. Is there a particular reason for that? Or are you just taking a holistic approach to the animals that are on the land already?
Well, this has a lot to do with culture and the tradition in this region. Here, we don't really like to use too many new technologies in the production of the wine. Of course, we will use the best machines for the fermentations, but we believe that the traditional way, like hand making and the slope of lobus vineyards, this is the way to produce and cutting the yielding of the wines, because by the way, the yielding of this wine, it's really low. I just show you the picture of the Spalier conducted vineyard, and it's like but I think it's really interesting varietal, and since it got approved into Ribera del Duero, there's more and more wineries trying to produce it, and I think it's an upcoming trend, an upcoming thing also in Singapore, maybe.
Has it been matured in steel only? It hasn't seen clay or oak or any of the other options?
After fermentation?
Yeah,
sorry.
No, what I'm saying is it's then showing a lot of varietal characteristics. There's a gravitas to this varietal. There's a certain weight and grunt to it that's obviously coming out as a pure reflection of the fruit, which is very interesting.
I think it's a wine that it's really subtle, but it gets strong because the fruit has a lot of a big expression while being subtle, and the leaves help it to get some pastry aromas.
Right. And some creaminess.
Creaminess to it, definitely.
I'm just thinking of food and wine matches. I've got it in my head because a friend just texted me about pineapple tarts. I don't know what the traditional name here for pineapple tarts in Singapore. It's the little ones that I eat 500 of during Lunar New Year. And I couldn't think of a better food and wine combination than that pastry with this wine. It'd be amazing. And then also cheese, like unpasteurized cheese, that kind of thing would be incredible.
This is what we use here in the Tenada. Actually, for the first wine, we bring a little bit of soft cheese, not too strong, because the wine, you have to compare it. If you wish, I want to compare it with the wines that are in this area also being offered. So we have, for example, the Verdejo. I don't know if you are familiar with it.
Verdejo, yeah.
So Verdejo is much stronger. It has a real high sense of acidity in the mouth. And
spicier and more floral than this. So it's quite different as a basic rule between the Albillo.
So I think, let's see, there's a lot of experimentation still around Albillo. For a lot of wine, it's a new project, and some of them really, it's not easy to produce, but you know, a wine from Ribera del Duero, it's always a guarantee of a seal of quality. So it is really difficult to produce Albillo in volumes. All the Albillos that will be produced have to be taken care manually. You have to be constantly checking the vineyards because there might be some problems, some infection. You have to remove the grape, and in the end, I think that makes it lovely. That it's impossible, let's say, to cheat with this varietal.
I think what's quite interesting about the wine, you know, in Singapore, everything gets warm in 2 seconds flat. And I kept mine in the fridge still right till the end. But as this white's warming up, it's getting a silkier, oilier component to the mid palate, which is really interesting. It's cracking a little bit expression of the way Semillon might do as it gets older. And I'm interested to know, have you ever tasted cellared back vintage of this varietal? Because I think the aromatics, the acids are good enough for it to be cellared. It doesn't have to be drunk immediately. Have you had much experience with that?
To be honest with you, Robert, I was unlucky because this year on Christmas, to the co-workers, they offered the 2016 or 2017 vintage of this wine. But
sorry?
There was a question, or
no, it's okay. It was somebody's speaker. I'll fix it. It's fine.
They offered the 2006 and 2007 vintage, but I took the holidays before they gave the boxes.
Bad timing.
Yeah. I was told that I think it has the acidity and the alcohol necessary to give it a really long life. Of course, it's already a delicate aromas that it has in the nose, so it will always be subtle. It will not get. But
maybe some honey, some a more honeysuckle kind of components with a year or two longer, which will be interesting.
A stone, yeah. I think it's. I hope we will start to see more Albillo in Singapore. I think most of the Ribera del Duero producers. I think Ribera del Duero has a really good name in all everywhere. It's a good name in Singapore, and I think more and more Ribera del Duero producers will start bringing their own Albillos. So we are glad that we have some advantage because we have been perfectioning the winemaking of this capricious varietal for some time.
I also quite like the idea that it's capricious. I like the idea that it's not something that grows easily and it needs a careful viticulturalist and a careful winemaker. It separates the good from the bad. There's a message from Mark saying, yeah, Mark, very much like Hunter Semillon with that lanolin is the right word. It's got that creamy lanolin component to it. I think it'll be super, super good as time goes by, for sure. All right, shall we move on?
Rob, before you move on, so in answer to the question, has it seen the oak? It's no oak, or is it light oak, or just
none?
No, this is the only wine that we produce that doesn't have any oak. The only one.
Yeah, I think to Rob's point, it really is analogous to Semillon, and it would be interesting to see some oaked versions. It really would be. But Pablo, while we've got you, I read the other day that Vega is now making a white. What
in Galicia.
What variety are they using?
Yeah, so actually they decided to go to Galicia to produce Albariño. They decided not to go to Albillo. For example, many of our competitors decide to go to produce Albillo, but they have this strategy to have different wineries in different appellations, and they decided instead of producing their own whites under the Verasitegui brand, they rather have their own new brand in Galicia.
It's quite savvy marketing because, of course, the wine media have been writing about Vega Sicilia white wine, and we're all automatically assuming it's Ribera white. And then, the prices have started to leak through, and I'm thinking, my God, for an Albillo, this is big money. Yeah. But having said that, even Albariño is hardly a super expensive varietal. So I'm interested to see what comes from the development.
Is Albillo native to a certain region? Like, is there a Contralta, a DOC?
Albillo was already here when we arrived. This is why Yolanda was able to convince the Ribera del Duero Council that it should be included because it's a local varietal. The conditions where we are in, they are extreme. Like the viticultures did not want to produce the wines in these states because some vintages, we lose the vintage. This is crazy. Almost no one in Spain does this. 2013, 2008, we did not bottle any wines.
Yeah, I'm looking at the altitude of these particular vines, 815 meters. There's not a lot of time spent on those vineyards in the wintertime wearing shorts, that's for sure.
It's really risky. It's really risky. So sometimes you just lose it all, and that's
a huge risk.
Yeah. But in the end, Yolanda understood that the French were doing this for a reason, because the townsfolk, the viticultures that were in this region, they used to produce the Albillo together with the Tempranillo, mix it, and produce rosés of low quality. This was the standard to mix everything. But when she arrived, she went to these extreme parts of the slopes of the highest altitudes where no one wanted to produce the wines.
Yeah.
And it's not like she invented it. The French have been doing this for 200 years already. So she just learned, she was an enologist, she studied in Madrid, she went to France, and this is normal in the production of the fine wines. You have to go to the slopes of the highest altitudes and risk it. Some years you lose it. That's the game. Sometimes, unfortunately,
Expensive game.
So, well, so shall we go with the
Yes,
red ones?
yes.
Okay. So now we're looking at Tierra Alta, which is the redesign, the restyling of the classical range of Ribera del Duero that we have here. So we changed the label 3 years ago to make it more clear, more modern. Tierra Alta means highlands, and then each bottle makes reference to one of the reasons why we are doing everything with traditional techniques of quality. For example, this one is called Dos Maderas, which means 2 oaks. So during the racking of this wine, we changed the origin of the wood in order to give it a different profile. Since we only use Tempranillo in the winemaking, we need to be really, really consistent in the correct usage of the oaking in order to achieve a constant profile of the wine. We cannot do coupages, we cannot mix varietals in order to achieve the qualities of the wine that we're aiming for. So therefore, the only tool, let's say only tool, the best tool that we have is the correct usage of the wood. Well, here in Ribera del Duero, most of the Riberas del Duero, they have a similar profile. So we are all trying to do similar things, but this is our expression of a good Ribera del Duero. And here, in the first bottle, we're talking about, I think we have the 2018 vintage now, do we?
Let's check. To be in the chat. Yeah, 18. So
18.
decanter, 95 points.
95 points decanter, yep. So in this bottle, I would like to compare it, if you want, with the ones that we will taste later. Yeah. In this particular bottle, in Dos Maderas, the fruit, the raspberry, the blueberry, is the protagonist. So these wines, they're really heavy-bodied, and they're often matched with lamb, with beef. And the oak, in this one in particular, you can feel it's mostly American oak, and it's just pushing this raspberry to the end, to the good finish that it has. But the fruit is just the protagonist. It's the one which is knocking the door, and it's the one who has more still so much aging potential, a lot.
So to your mind, this is leaning towards the red fruit spectrum rather than the traditional blue fruit spectrum of Tempranillo.
Yeah. In the other ones that we will taste later, we are looking at more, even more mature, because check our first bottle that we're tasting.
Yeah.
It's already 2018. We don't produce any wines younger, red wines.
Yeah.
Because Yolanda has the mentality that this is like you have a child who has a lot of talent for art.
Yeah.
You don't want him to be coloring drawing books.
Well, if I had a talented child, I'd have him selling his art at the age of 5 years, but that's just me. Maybe that's why I'm not a parent.
Well, she says you will want him to express his potential through actual art, oil paintings, right?
Sure.
So this is why part of the philosophy is to give the exceptional grape that we give a lot of love and manual, the time to express the potential, the qualities that are already inside of them when we take them from the field.
Right.
Imagine that we only spend 20 to 30 minutes since we pick the grape until it gets to by gravity to the deposits and it gets hand selected. It's a crazy process. There's no fruit in the world that after being picked up spends so such a small amount of time until it's already controlled in fermentation.
Yeah.
And
I think, you know, that's a key word with this wine is control, because so often in other parts of central and northern Spain, you get that overripe, call it muffin top kind of expression. But here, everything is very much neat and seamless and tailored. What I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Dos Maderas, the two oak treatments. What are you looking for from the two separate types of oak? Are they what two different characteristics are they lending to the finished product?
Okay, so the French oak, it serves to give it smokiness, roundedness, to make it more balanced overall. And on the other hand, the American oak lets the fruit get more protagonist and just toast it, gives a little bit of more character, helps to give it more volume, to give it more expression. So,
okay, so sort of jazzier kind of component, I suppose.
Yes, and now when we taste the Dos Cotas, you will see the difference. And I think here Yolanda wants to show a little bit more perfectionism.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to pause and put my salesman hat on just for a second to say that for Decanter to award a wine as humble as $45, 95 points is something of an achievement. It's quite distinctive from a performance point of view. It shows real value.
I think most of we have many masters of wine coming. I think we're really proud of this as well. Tim Atkin was here for the third time 3 months ago. And I think this is the correct, I joined this project because I think this is the correct way to winemaking. This is the future of winemaking, and treating each bottle like art, like trying to do the best possible and consistently through the years build a brand and build a reference in the, and this is the, it's not a young wine, but I think, Robert, if we leave this one, well, I will tell you one thing. Do you remember these boxes I told you about Albillo before?
Yes.
That I made? Okay,
Yeah.
I got lucky, and I saved some 2014 vintage of this wine.
And it's showing
amazing.
well. I'm sure it's showing well. Yeah.
It was amazing.
You know, it's quite interesting because there's definitely a wave of interest globally in super high altitude Spanish wine. So I'm so excited that we have the chance to show these wines, because here we're seeing premium location, you know, at very high altitude for an extraordinarily reasonable price. So I'm very excited with this one. Shall we move to numero tres? That's all the Spanish I know, on dos tres. After that, I'm lost.
You know more. You know, I know you know a bit more. I know you know a bit more.
Well, I can swear a little bit.
Well, let's go with Dos Cotas. You told me you have decanted this wine already, right?
Yes, everything was done at 9:30 this morning.
Yes, because this wine, I love it. It's like a puzzle. Mm-hmm. When you first open it, it has been in the bottle, okay, 8 years. I mean, well, not 8 years in the bottle. It has, it has been in the bottle. It's been 2 years and a half in barrels after the vintage. So it's been since 2016, start of 2017, actually, because the harvest takes place in September. The start of 2017, it has been in the bottle already for 5 years, this way. So it needs some time to open up. Sure. So when you first open it, you smell like a wall of good, only good. And then
I'm getting definite notes of drying tannins on the top palate, which is screaming for roast lamb. I think the combination of that kind of animal fat with this kind of wine, as it tastes right now, it would be an amazing combination. The DNA of the wine is extraordinarily good. Again, there's Yolanda's style. The seamlessness is coming through again. This neatness in the way the wine is made is showing again.
Yes, and this one gets better and better each second. And that's fantastic, you know. While you're enjoying this wine, if you open it this morning, I think it's already in a mature state. So it will be really good already. But each time you come back to it, it's getting better. So
and in the glass, I'm working it like crazy, and its evolution just in the short time we've been talking is extraordinary. It's very good.
Each time gets better. First is the French oak welcoming you, and then the more you leave it on the glass, the more the fruit starts to show up, and so that it still has a lot of potential to aging.
Yeah.
It still will get better. 2, 3 years, 4 years will get better. And you're just amazed because it was just hidden, and then you leave it a little while, and there's even more aromas coming in, more floral aromas, small details, small hints, small evolutions. So this is a classical Ribera del Duero. Reserva.
It's a lot of, it reminds me of some of the other Riberos that I've had that has that intense swathe of dry herbs. So a lot of very different green dry herbs. That seems to play very well on the phenolics here.
I forgot to say, in Tierra Alta, each bottle has this name, technical name, as I told you, and this is Dos Cotas, which is a measure of altitude, and this is just speaking about the altitudes where the vineyards are located in, where we are now here in Valduero, over 800 meters.
Right.
But
I'm struck by looking at the vista that you showed us earlier of the vineyards. It's flat, right? It's just a moonscape everywhere around the vineyards. Amazing.
Miguel, ¿puedes abrirme esta puerta para enseñarles el viñedo?
Yeah, the black. I can't afford that Spanish blackleg wild boar anymore, Mark, because it's become so popular in Southeast Asia that the prices have gone up more than double for the very rare ones. It's crazy. Sergio, what is mochila? Is that a Spanish dish?
Which one?
Mochila. Sergio is saying mochila with that would be good. It's like haggis. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm still in therapy over the haggis I had once. Yes. I'm a complete letdown when it comes to cuisine. The idea of eating blood sausage, I can't do it. Can't.
Mochila. No, I don't know mochila. Morcilla. Morcilla.
Morcilla. Yeah.
Morcilla. Yes. Morcilla. This is here. I think here in this slide you got it. This is morcilla.
Oh, that's it. That's fantastic. Right. Yeah.
Yes, actually, in some countries this is considered to be a street food.
Yeah.
In Latin America, but here in Aranda, this is done with a lot of care. It's gastronomy. It's one of the most valued and typical dishes, and it's a perfect pairing for this wine, definitely.
Thanks for that, Sergio. I've got to say, the one time I really liked blood sausage was in Spain, was in Valencia with scallops. So he fried the scallop. So there was a kind of umami coming off the scallop that kind of spoke to the blood sausage, but it ended up being more of a liquid lunch than a solid lunch for me. In the end. All right, let's go to the fourth one, the Gran Reserva.
Okay, so in our philosophy, Yolanda's words, a Gran Reserva is not made Gran Reserva by the aging time and by the good process, the bottle process. No, Gran Reserva is born Gran Reserva already, because this is the highest quality of grape that we have.
Oh,
and then,
the texture is dynamite. Sorry to interrupt you, but the texture in this wine is incredible. My God.
And then we just give it. This is the problem with wines. There's a big problem.
Yeah.
That you have to wait 11 years to see the results.
Yeah.
You know, This wine,
the silkiness in this wine is extraordinary. It has a probably going to get rocks thrown at me for saying it, but it has an almost Burgundian kind of silkiness to the mid palate. It's extraordinarily refined.
this is called dos racimos, which means two bunches, because we only produce two bunches per plant, which grants you around 300 to 450, maybe 500 grams per plant, which is not enough to do even a bottle.
Yeah.
We select the best states that we have, we cut the production to the minimum, and then we give it the best treatment possible to make a piece of a bottle. And we're really proud of this wine in particular.
So what happens to the rest of the grapes? Do you just drop them, or do you declassify into a lower tier label? What's your process?
The one that does not make it for those Maderas,
yeah,
let's say, lower quality, not enough for those Maderas or a bad vintage.
Right.
There's many other wineries willing to buy what we don't want. Many wineries. If we don't want the grape, they are willing to. They know it's still really good. And this one in particular, the Gran Reserva, we only produce it on the very best vintages.
It's
2011 was an extraordinary vintage, and then Yolanda decided to produce some of the Gran Reserva. If the vintage is great, we don't produce Gran Reserva. It has to be extraordinary. And maybe if the vintage is good or great, we only produce those Maderas with the best grape that we have. So this is our winemaking style. We try to be consistent when what we are doing. And I think compared to those Cotas, this wine, you can see it has a much more evolved evolution, the perfection. It's already in a peak, it's in a complexity, it's in a...
Yes,
it's
it's already sitting at a peak window as we're drinking it tonight. It's amazing. It's very interesting because we were chatting before the tasting tonight. I first came across Valduero in Barcelona with the 6 Años, the 6-year label, and it has a much bigger profile than this particular wine on a retail level in Spain. But from a quality point of view, this is just the top of the class for me. It's amazing. Obviously, the style of the 6 Años is more New World. Well, for me anyway. Maybe you can help
totally
me.
Right.
It's
totally
more
right.
forward and vivacious, but this is just gold standard, amazing quality, old school Tempranillo. Really wonderful.
I will say that with the winemaking, the vineyard, and the viticulture techniques that we use,
yep.
This is and we have invited experts and sommeliers to the winery and have done blind tasting with the best houses in the world. I don't want to give names, no need. And,
no, drop the names for sure.
No.
We're selling wine tonight, Pablo.
Well, houses such as Petrus, Pingus, Roman Conti, they have been tasting next to this wine and in blind tastings by experts, and we get often really good results.
Yeah.
So I will say this is at the same at the top. It's difficult. I've seen it with my own eyes to make it better than this. It's just we're trying to do the best with the best that we have. I don't know. I feel really proud to have to go other places and introduce this wine, and I hope you guys love it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
As much as I do. And I invite everyone in this video conversation to please come by themselves, check the winery, and see what we are doing. I think they will have a lot of fun. And
we got about 40 people online tonight, so a medium-sized jet will be fine. We'll just arrive and have some of that mochila that Sergio is talking about. maybe you want to jump out of the share screen now in case there's some questions from the crowd.
Sure. Let's do that.
Perfecto.
Perfect.
Toby, I'm glad to see Club Gresham is alive and kicking.
Yeah, we're all sorry. We've got a new person who's in our wine tasting.
Outstanding. Welcome, mate.
Rob, there is a question. The question is about the longevity of the
Yes.
the red and how long they should be selling for.
Again, sorry, Low.
The question is, how long should you cellar the 3 different reds? What's the maturation profile? Like, how many years should they be held for?
You mean the bottles?
The cellaring potential, yeah.
No, the potential. So for instance, the Crianza, what is the optimal time to drink it? Is it 5 years, 10 years? What
I would say that we don't bottle it as Crianza. I forgot to say this because we are actually spending enough time to bottle it as Reserva. So we don't like to put Crianza on the label, but I will say this one, even if we have already given him 4 years, it can get much better. Maybe in 7, 8, 9 years, it's getting to its fullness.
Okay, and the other 2?
Is definitely, and the other 2 in the Dos Cotas, when it's open already, when it has got some oxygen, you can still tell the fruit is there really strong. I think at least 4 or 5 years getting better, and then it will stay there for at least another 5, 6 years until it starts decaying.
For me, going back to the 3 reds as a retrospective, number 3 of the 4 lineup, number 3, the middle red, still has that tannic attitude about it, but I think that's a function of vintage as much as age, right? It's that particular year, but that will eventually dissipate over time. For me, 2 and 4 are the winners from a drink right now point of view. It's quite interesting.
I think the Gran Reserva is the more polished.
Yeah. Gran Reserva without question. But I'm just the Dos Maderas. I don't mind the Dos Maderas now. Number 2, the $38 one. The Dos Cotas, the 2014 is that tannic thing is there, but time will ease that and smooth it over.
Overall, you see these wines, they have they're really heavy. I hope you guys at home are eating something together with it. We offer a lot of lamb, morcilla, all kind of food, and this heaviness and this high acidity, alcohol, volume, this gives the wine a profile for aging. We all know the big houses in Spain, they are the big names. They are all in the, well, not all. In Rioja, there's also really big names, and in Piedad. But some of the big names, they are or competitors. So it's Ribera del Duero also, and these wines, they are fantastic for aging. They have an incredible aging potential. They get better. I'm trying to be humble, giving you the age time, because I don't want to tell too much, but definitely a wine that we try to give it as much time as possible to develop. And
well, I know in my house there wouldn't be much time left once that Gran Reserva gets opened. It's not going to sit very long in the special level.
Yeah, no, that's often the case, and you know, it's really sad because we are also proud to have the oldest vintages of Ribera del Duero available directly from the winery. So if you want to, let's say, get a 1991 wine, you can get it directly from the winery, and because Yolanda back to 1991 decided to keep some of the best.
Oh, that's great to know, because a lot of our clients are looking for back vintages for children and wedding anniversaries and divorce celebrations and all those kind of things they like to celebrate. So if it's good for us to actually have that available, especially ex-chateau, to have premium quality. We do a little bit of that from Fontana Freda and Borgogno, and it works very well. So hopefully Lou will talk to you about that for a future occasion.
I can give you the vintages, but well, it's not us who invented it. This already existed in Bolado for a long time, in Rioja. But to be honest, in Ribera del Duero, in the first years, people did not keep the wine long enough. And I think that's a good thing that we still have some stock. And we have some private customers coming here to this room, which is the Tenada, and asking for these top level wines. For us, they don't have, they have like a symbolic price, because for us, it's like, you know, it's just, each one is a piece. It's, but I can guide you about it. So in case you...
we'll talk about that as an aside. Are there any more questions before we say good night to Pablo? Goodbye, good afternoon to Pablo.
I still have to have lunch.
And it's a religious occasion lunch in Spain. It's fantastic.
Very important part of it.
I always say to people that the reason why I first fell in love with Spain was it's considered rude not to sleep twice a day. Perfect for me.
Do you have open cellar door?
Yeah, do you have a cellar door? Mark, I think the answer is yes, because that restaurant that they have there is open all the time. So I'm guessing that it's available for people to visit.
This means that you can come and try the wines.
Right? Yeah,
of course. Of course. We have in this restaurant where we are located, you can come and we have like a list of the wines, and we have a lot of private customers coming to enjoy and also for lunch, because this is not that far from Madrid. It's only like 1 hour, 50 minutes.
Well, I can assure you, I know of 3 people who are watching the tasting tonight who are so obsessed with tennis. If you can get that dude to the guy who won Roland Garros to show up at the winery, they're coming. Guaranteed. You just tell them what day they need to show up and they'll be there.
Okay, I can try, but you know, it's we sometimes we invite them. Of course, they might come because it's close, but still they come. But it's difficult to convince them. Sometimes it's not. Mark Dingan just said that they will visit. I'm marking down your words. Okay, no, Mark Dingan comes in the next.
That's perfect. There's a question. Pablo, there's a question from Troy about, is this the full range? It's Troy, it's not. It's actually a much bigger range than what we have brought in of the 4. But I'll let Pablo answer that.
Yes, we have 2 ranges, which this is the traditional range. This is the one that we have been working with for the longest time. And the classical range of vertical wines of Ribera del Duero. And then we also have the elite range, which is a newer concept of more modern fruity style wines, which is 2 bottles, the 6 años and una cepa, which are like collector wines, special.
Well, I think if there's all the questions. I share Sergio's message. Gracias, Pablo. Oh my God, he's speaking in Spanish. He's so upstaged me. I have no idea what he's saying, but I'll just say, muy bien, perfecto, adios, borrachos. That's all I got.
Robert, I would like to thank you for your trust, the opportunity of coming here. Such a nice time spent together.
Yeah, it was great.
I love your community. This is great. You're so lucky to have such a nice community of people enjoying the wines, talking about it, having fun.
It's fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody for joining tonight. Next week, we are doing 2015 Antolin Guion. We're doing 6 different wines from his back library. That's next Thursday night. It's available online now if you want to take a look. And thank you all so much. And hopefully we can see you all again soon. Adios.
Adiós, Robert. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. De nada, de nada. Dude, that's one of the best GRs I've tasted that I can remember.
Yeah.
Especially at that price point. It's amazing.
Hey, Rob,
Nice.
Lou, you never
Jay.
asked
Hey.
the question. You never asked the question. I was waiting.
Oh, Lou, where's the love?
Lou, what's going
Come
on?
on.
He
He was
cut me
study.
off.
He would have told you anything.
He cut me off. I know. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Rude
Yeah.
South African who thinks
Lou,
he's
you're big.
special.
You're a big man, and you impose yourself. I gather.
Yeah.
But I'm polite. I'm polite.
No, it's true, Lou. You haven't asked that question for quite a while. I'll make a note. I'll flick it to you next time.
Yeah, I actually forgot. Sorry.
Yes. It has been a big day, to be fair.
No, but also, yeah, I've been watching Putin doing stuff. But
Yeah.
also, the last couple of tastings, we haven't had a third party presenting. It's been us.
It's been a
You know.
That's true,
Oh, so
yeah.
Robert, what's your favourite wine? When
yeah. Xingtao. Yeah.
Yeah, so I forgot. Sorry. I mean, like next week, we're doing that ourselves, so I've got no one to ask.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
So,
it's true. It's going to be stonking good. I can't wait to see how. I haven't looked at those for a year. I'm so excited to see it, to see how they've progressed. Over another year. It's going to be really good to taste them.
yeah, so sorry, James, but I plain forgot. I'm sorry.
James, I think you should take the mantle. You should just, like, if Lou drops it, just say, yeah.
But that's kind of like his catchphrase. And as I said,
Yeah.
he's a big man. I may bump into him one day in Singapore, so I
I know,
don't fancy my chances unless
I
he's
know,
asleep.
it's actually the only reason I'm here. I feel like a spare prick at a wedding now.
Well, all I can say is now that I know that everybody appreciates that question, I'll be nudging him.
Yeah,
every
nudge
time.
him for sure, Don.
Hello,
Yeah, for
hello.
sure.
It's a great question, and some of the answers you get are brilliant. They're really insightful to what people,
Well, yeah,
especially at the end when they're relaxing, and they're very comfortable. And you say, oh, "What do you drink?" And sometimes they just spurt out stuff, and it's like that's
True.
interesting. It's
No,
the
man,
great-
it's awesome. And also, especially if we're talking to the winemakers themselves, because it gives so much more color to their philosophy of what they're all about. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, what the sales managers do is not so important, but when you've got the winemaker or the owners, that's
Yeah.
really insightful. Really,
Yeah.
because it gives you an idea of what they're aspiring to.
Yeah, it definitely is worth it. All right, Di, it's up to you.
Right, I'll carry the mantle
Yeah,
going
just
forward.
belt him if he forgets.
It'd be nice to get a nut. It's nice to get a nut.
All right, we'll talk to you all soon. Good night.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Cheers.